Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Soundtrack of Your Life. You know what this show is all about now. This is where you get to share stories about music in your life, so whether that's songs, albums, soundtracks, theme tunes, etc., and how they've interspersed with people, scenarios, events, moments in your life. Because we've all got stories to tell when it comes to that regard, so this is the show where you can do just that. So my guest on this week's show is the bright and engaging Karla Marie. And Karla is a spiritual life coach and content creator, and it's to do with all things self-love and conscious manifestation. In the show, we touch upon many different songs and emotions and stories, some really bright moments, some really poignant moments, and things that will help you in your life. There's a lot of value shared as well, and it made for another great hour's worth of chat and conversation. Do let us know what you think in the comments below of the show, and if you want to get involved and get yourself on the show, just follow the link in the description and comments to sign up and get your slot secured on the show. I really think you're going to enjoy this episode with Karla. She's a really great and bright character, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy what she's got to say. So without further ado, here's the episode. Enjoy and feel supersonic. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Soundtrack of Your Life. You know what this is all about now, surely. But if somehow you don't, then this is basically the show where you get to share stories about music in your life. So songs, bands, albums, soundtracks, theme tunes, and how they've interspersed with moments, people, events, scenarios, whatever in your life. Because we've all got stories to tell when it comes to that kind of thing. So I thought, look, let's have a show where we can share just that. So my guest on this week's show is the brilliant Karla, and Karla is a spiritual life coach and content creator about all things self-love and conscious manifestation. And when we chatted about her being on the show, she's got a real passion for music. So I thought, do you know what, let's get her on and share some stories. So do you know what, without further ado, like I do on every show, Karla, over to you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I love the name Soundtrack of Your Life. It just makes me think about, these moments where I feel like my life is like a movie, and what music's playing in the background and things. And I was thinking in the car before I spoke to you about how the 80s, 90s, all these decades, I think about them and I think about certain times in my life, like those periods and how old I was, and they really do gauge time.
They're great markers in life, aren't they? They're like, well,
yes.
that's the whole ethos of the show, because as soon as you hear a song, you remember everything about the time and even the song itself. So, often loads of people on the show talk about, things like their first album or things like their, first time they got into a band. And it's often from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And you don't have to even have been around by then. You could have been born in the 80s, but it's like I first got into the Beatles or the Stones or Bob Marley or Black Sabbath, whomever. And they weren't, you weren't born when they were in their prime. And it's like, well, that's the power of music, really.
Yeah, that's so cool. And that's got into this when you invited me was because I was talking about my dad, with 80s music. And I remember when I was little, I'd be like, why does he listen to all the old music? None of this music's on the radio. And then now, I'm 38 years old and I'm consistently listening to, music from high school, like the 2000s, and my kids are like, what is this?
Now we know how our folks felt, isn't it? It's like, well, look, we're going to turn into them. Like I say, well, it used to be better back in my day. And it is true, by the way. Apologies to any younger people watching this, but it was better. Come on, seriously, it was. Back in the day. So you mentioned this music acting like a film in your life.
Yeah.
If you could name that film for yourself, do you have a name in mind?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. It's just like these random moments where when they do like musical montages and in
Oh yeah.
movies, and it's like and they're in the car driving. It's kind of like that, and like it'll just be random songs. Like you'll have your victory song. Like, I can't even think of. Well, you know what? The time of my life. That's one because I even listen to that to trick me into being in a good mood. If I
To
wake up
trick you,
kind
I
of like,
like that. To trick you.
yeah, yeah, if I wake up kind of grumpy and I want to shift my mood, I put on "I've Had the Time of My Life," and it does trick me because I start dancing.
Well, do you know what? That example there is actually the whole again point of the show in a nutshell, because it could strike at any moment. A song appears from nowhere and it changes your mood, your energy, your persona. And sometimes people, that's the point of things like playlists, mixtapes, that kind of thing, because sometimes people compile
Yes.
them to get into that mood. Most common examples, people would have heard of things like a gym playlist. You want to get in there
Yeah.
with some like high powered stuff to push you through a workout or whatever it might be. But the fact that you said you could wake up grumpy and just switch that track on, it's like, oh hello.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like the use of the word trick. It kind of is a trick, but it's our own trick, so it's
Yes.
our kind of magic.
I
That sounded very
actually read
cheesy, but never mind.
something. No, it's true. It is magic. It is magical because you can just shift into, I mean, if you can shift your mood like that, it just changes your whole day
Ah,
and how you show
yeah.
up. So that is magical that we have that ability to do that.
So where did time in your life sort of come from for you?
Okay, so that's the 80s, Dirty Dancing. That's the theme
Mm-hmm.
song of Dirty Dancing. And I watched that movie when I was like 5 years old. I don't even know. And the end scene is when Patrick Swayze comes out. He's going towards baby, and I used to make my Barbies do the end scene because he catches her, and it's just like such a happy moment that like even talking about it right now, I'm excited because I'm like, that's like for me when I was a kid, it was like true love. How beautiful.
Amazing. Oh, at 5 years old, you got that interpretation. Brilliant.
I don't even know how. I think because I grew up with my family watched novelas, soap operas, so it's very dramatic. Like,
Uh huh.
and that's what I love about music too, because I can be really dramatic and emotional sometimes, and music allows me that channel to be able to express that energy.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just like I love like there's another one. What's it called? Oh, Total Eclipse of the Heart. It's just so dramatic. It's like total eclipse of the heart, and I just love belting out to. I wish I could sing. I wish God gave me that ability to have this most beautiful voice, but I just
Oh,
I
go
just
on. I bet you
appreciate
can. Go
it.
on. Give us a line or two. You can. I'm sure you do.
I'm
It wouldn't be the
always
first
singing.
time.
It's so funny, right?
Brilliant.
I'm always singing. I can't. I don't even know. It's
I
like
don't.
turn around every now and then. It's so dramatic. And I need you now tonight. Have you heard
Well,
that song?
I have in burst, but it's like there's nothing wrong with the voice there.
That's so
I think
funny. Thank
this is
you.
queuing up to be another special episode where we just get you on to do an impromptu gig. There you go.
I used to do karaoke on Fridays at this bar when I was younger. And that was like an outlet too to be able to just like sing the songs, and I'd get the whole crowd hyped up because I love music that much. I feel like even if I wasn't the best singer, because of my energy of like being so into it, it got everyone else riled up.
So, would you say that had a starting point? Like, where did that all come from? Was it like the
Yeah, I don't
expression, the energy? That do you know where it
I don't
started?
even know. I've just always been that way. Like I think that's what it is, that it's like it's my way of expressing myself, right? So, and especially like in my teen years, when I was really like, we have tough times when we're teenagers, and I used to get bullied a lot, and I was pretty emo. That's why I listened to emo music. And just listening to, and this is something that's another beautiful thing about music. When you're going through hard times, like heartbreak, and you don't know how to express these big emotions, you're younger and you're just like, I'm angry, I'm sad, I want to cry. And you hear these words in this music and you're just like, wow, someone else feels that way too. And you don't feel so
Yeah.
alone. And then you're able to express it. So you don't, I think it takes away the shame. Like, it makes you not feel alone.
What are examples of that for you? Are there any like ones,
So
songs that's
it's,
linked to certain emotions or stuff like that?
yeah. So this is, my music tastes are all over the place. But for me, when I was like 14, it was Eminem. That was
Right.
my
Okay.
first concert too. Yeah, because he was so angry and he just said everything, and I'd be like, I'm angry too. And I was,
I'm angry too. That sounds like a lost Eminem track. You know, like the B side
right?
to the real Slim Shady. Yeah, I'm angry
Oh
too.
my god, it's so funny. So yeah, and or just like I'm trying to think of songs, like just these like heartbreaking songs, even like um I sometimes I'll even put them on while I'm doing shadow work in the car, and I want to help myself cry. I'll put on some rock music. I have a playlist called Teenage Angst.
Okay. All right.
And it helps me tap into like my inner child, because my inner child is more like la la la, but my inner teen, she has a lot of anger.
Wow. So
And
you've even gone from like it's not just one child. You've still got another character in your cast, as I call
yeah,
it. Of
there
wow.
there's I feel like there's so many different versions of me here, right? And just like hearing them and nurturing them and caring for them, it's for me, it's been like a reparenting journey. It's like now
Right.
I, in the present moment, am like holding space for them. Um, and it
How did
makes
you
me
sort of
think,
learn to do that? I mean, that sounds like a
yeah,
fascinating pointer in itself.
that's so true. So I think just like getting into personal development and spirituality, when I started learning about inner child healing, that was the inner child healing was the first part. I was like, whoa, I watched a video about it, and I had visualized my inner child, and I talked to her, and I was like, wow, this is intense. And then I got deeper into it, and that's something I actually work on with my clients. And so this is a spiritual realization that I had, because like time and space, quantum, like we exist on all timelines and dimensions at once, right? So now I'm realizing, me visualizing my inner child in the present moment and she's in the past, I felt that presence in the past, and it's me now.
Wow. I bet
Yeah,
people, listeners or viewers, didn't imagine it going this deep this early on. But hey, look, this is how we roll, man.
right.
So
Oh,
walk
you're
through
always
that
gonna go
again.
deep
So
with me.
we have no. Say that again. Yeah, let go through that again, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. How can I explain this in a way? So I've through my spiritual awakening, I've discovered that I'm clairaudient, and being
Okay.
clairaudient means that I receive like messages from spirit through music. My whole life,
Right.
music has always. I would hear lyrics, and I'd look them up and try to find the meaning in it. But it always seemed to align with what was happening in my life at the time. Like it was this encouraging voice, like kind of like, don't give up. Like if I was feeling I used to have suicidal ideation, and a song that just came in my ear right now was, it goes, don't give up, cause you have friends. Don't give up. And it's like, so anyways, so when I'm visualizing my inner child and I'm healing her and seeing her and speaking to her, she can feel my presence where she is in the dimension she's in. And I felt it when I was her. and it was me now.
Right. So, okay, I think I'm beginning to understand. So you're interlinked together, despite you don't. You even think outside the sort of time space continuum that where our
Even,
present moment is in. We have states of ourselves
yeah,
in, as you said, other dimensions, other timelines, but we're all interlinked. So, that voice you
yes.
might have heard might have been from another representation of yourself in another plane.
Yes, that's the truth that I received from that. It may not
Right.
resonate for anyone else, but I know it's true. And I
Fuck it, that's your opinion.
also, right? So I also know that my future self, okay, so in 2017, I was going through a really hard time. And I
Right.
realize now, when I was sitting there, laying there, listening to music, these songs that kept telling me, like, it was the same theme. Don't give up. Don't, you know, don't give up, like stay. And
Do you
it
remember what
was
some of the
me
songs
now.
were?
Yeah, I'm trying. So there's a song called The Rip by
Okay.
Portishead, and that was one of the songs. It was just really random though. Let's see. I'm trying. Hold on, let me look up the lyrics. It's just like intense. Okay, it was like the song goes, wild, wild horses, they will take me away, and the tenderness I feel will send the dark underneath. Will I follow? Kind of like that, and just these messages, and now I'm conscious of it. So when I get songs, I'm like, when I know what it is because it'll be synchronicity, and sometimes I'll intentionally
Hmm.
do it. I'll shuffle my playlist, be like, can I get a message?
It's great that you
And
can tap into that. I think sometimes we create things like a playlist or something for somebody else or a certain state that we're trying to encourage. So, like I was saying, the gym playlist, it's about
yeah.
powering yourself up and through. But things that like actually give us deeper meaning, give us a deeper sense of like this is actually speaking to something else that's deeper inside rather than something relatively superficial. Um, there's only certain tracks I think that will have that kind of impact. I think. Um, so yeah, I wanted to also ask like when you were finding these songs or coming across them and they spoke to you in this kind of manner. Obviously, we're in an age now where you could click on Spotify, YouTube. There's so many
Right.
tools that gives you that instant access. But did you have to go find them back in the time we're talking about because there would have been less
Yeah.
tools around? So how did you come across them? Is what I mean. Like, did you go looking for them or like where how did they come into your space?
Yeah, so the songs, I used to actually have this thing called Audio Scrobbler or something like
All
that,
right.
and it sent music from my laptop. This was in like 2000s, music from my laptop to a website, and it would keep track of what I
Oh,
listened to. So I actually went to that website and I looked at all the top songs that I used to play. But these songs have been on every playlist on mixed CDs. Like I have like songs that are always on my playlist, like Third Eye Blind, just songs from like that time when I was growing up. They're always there.
awesome. Well, that I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that these tracks stay with you. I think for a long,
They're the
long time
soundtrack of
because
my life, right?
there you go, there you go. That's exactly what the show is about, and it's something that I think constantly marvels us because I think maybe sometimes we're guilty of we hear a song, it connects to us in whatever manner, and we might overplay it and suddenly
Yes.
we lose that little bit of impact because it gets a bit samey. But then when we hear it years later, especially out of nowhere, you're like, oh shit, that used to be a song I couldn't stop playing,
You
or
can love it
that kind of thing.
again.
Yeah, exactly. And then nowadays there's so many um again tools and performers that rehash a song. I was saying to
Yes.
my guest last week on the show that you know, there's AI now that you can, let's say, you know, what would Imagine by John Lennon sound like if it was sung by Elvis or something like that. And you've got the tools where someone's made an answer to that question. And it's like, okay, there's some ropey examples, but there are some that are like, shit, that's like really close here. And, you know, it just lets you, again, as you said, enjoy the song all over again.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah, there's certain songs where I'll be like, next, don't play that song. Like, that was overplayed. Like, what was a good song? Oh, This Is How You Remind Me by Nickelback. I can't listen to that. Sometimes I can.
Is that because it's Nickelback? You know, they always seem to get a lot of stick for some reason. It's like, Nickelback, no, get off it. Like, well,
yeah,
a couple of good songs and shit.
Their Silver Side Up was a pretty good album, and they do get a bad rap. People are like, Nickelback, you listen to Nickelback.
Where did that come from? I must have
don't
that,
know. It's like became a meme or something because everyone says it did.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I think how funny, like Coldplay in the UK gets a little bit of a similar rep.
Coldplay.
Yeah, and it's like they've got some good songs. Like
I like me some Coldplay.
Yeah, but they've got this impression of they get that kind of Nickelback kind of.
That makes sense in the UK. Aren't they a UK-based band?
Coldplay?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from London. Yeah. And you know,
so I bet that was playing even more over there than here. I mean, it plays a lot here.
Oh, yeah, but I think they're definitely ones that... I always say that if you could pick any era from the 60s, maybe in 50s onwards, they're always like maybe 2-3 bands... probably on both sides of the water, so in the UK and the US, where like they're the ones that defined the cultural significance of that period. You know, so our side, you're talking, you know, the Beatles, the Stones, Queen, the Who, Iron Maiden, Oasis, and then in modern day now, you're talking like, you know, Ed Sheeran, Coldplay, Adele maybe. You know, on your side, it's people, you know, like Elvis, Guns N' Roses, Bruce Springsteen. All these kind of, you know, artists. Yeah, all these kind of artists and stuff. But when I come to today, it's like Coldplay, yeah, I get it. And, you know, you can see the impact they've had. But it's like, I don't know whether they're held in that same esteem as, like, the other bands that I mentioned. I don't know. It's a funny one. You know, they've got on the face of it the commercial success.
Yeah, they play their music in commercials, too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In terms of like, you know, monetizing their stuff and being out there, they're probably, you know, one of the biggest bands going in that regard. But
yeah,
I don't know when I guess when people say, will they be thought of as like, you know, legends or pioneers or in that same
like will they get,
you know,
like kind of the credit that they have earned? I think you know, or will they get like that, like Coldplay? No.
Yeah, and that's such a, as you said, it's a common attitude here, where like, you know, they're held in that kind of almost underappreciated manner. It's a very weird thing. I don't know where it's from. A side of me says then maybe they're not, like, they're too safe, if that makes sense. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, there's rarely like a change of.
It's too mainstream, maybe. Yeah, and that makes sense.
That's a good word.
Safe.
That's the good word. Yeah.
Like, they haven't really, you know, some bands, they'll make an album that's completely different sound, and they've kind of stayed consistent. So I think that makes sense. Yeah. I know when I was a teenager, mainstream used to kind of turn me off because I liked indie music. So I'd be like, I don't like the top 40s. I did secretly, but...
when they were actually worth something, like, you know, top 40 was a thing.
But I'd listen to all these obscure bands nobody ever heard of because that made me feel cool. I don't know what, but listening to Backstreet Boys didn't make me feel cool, but I definitely did at home.
When no one's looking, yeah, you know.
When no one's looking,
you know, and then everybody. No, sorry, I don't know what that was. No, that's not. You know, never mind.
That's the energy of the video.
Quite. But you're right. Even those things like, you know, the top 40, MTV was a big thing.
Oh my god,
you know,
MTV,
you'd watch, you know,
every
right?
day
You know,
after
you
school.
that you know someone's latest music video would drop, and you're like, oh, hang on, I need to go check that out because that
Yeah.
was the
Did you
place
ever watch
to go.
TRL?
Total Request Live, is that what it was?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know the show, never recall seeing it.
What
Never
did you
recall
watch
seeing
when
it.
you were a teenager after school? I guess not TRL.
Ah, well, you're talking the UK, you're talking kids' TV. That was like a kind of, for people that are here in the UK, they'll resonate with the ritual of you come home from school roughly about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and kids' TV was decent, and it'd play on, on like mainstream TV, so you don't have to have a cable subscription or a
Oh,
satellite.
okay.
Beyond the two mainstream channels, BBC One and ITV. It'd be there till like 6 o'clock, but it'd be stuff that everybody watched because that was the kids' sort of TV time. Half
Yeah.
three to about 5 o'clock, 5:30, and stuff like that. So that was a kind of a ritual. It was a thing, and then Saturday mornings was the same kind of
Oh
ilk.
yeah. Yeah. We
Probably
had
the same in
Saturday
America
morning
as well.
cartoons.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
something,
yeah. We
yeah.
probably the same model, and then that format evolved through the years until I think they disappeared. What? Early 2000s, I think, before
Yeah.
obviously dedicated channels appeared on satellite and
I miss
cable
those
and
days. Here
yeah,
we used to
exactly.
have TGIF and we had the Saturday morning cartoons, and yeah, they
Yeah,
disappeared like in the 2000s. Sad.
again, same thing. They don't make them like they used to, honestly. And what they're
No.
doing now, they're taking our old stuff and kind of ruining it. Like,
Yeah.
stop ruining our childhood. Like,
Yes.
remaking, like the Ninja Turtles or Inspector Gadget. Like, stop, leave it
Yes.
alone.
Or
Don't
changing their
ruin it.
animation. I'm like,
Oh,
no, what
just
is that? Yeah.
no,
Ninja
right,
Turtles for
exactly.
sure.
Right, I mean, just stop, please. Don't sort of
Whenever anyone tells me
don't
about
mess.
like they're remaking The Crow, and I was like, no, I'm not watching that. You didn't have to remake The Crow. That's an amazing movie. Like it's good as it is.
That's it, right? You nailed it, perfect.
You
Leave it
nailed
alone,
it. Leave it
right?
alone. And I'm okay
Yeah,
with covers of music, but remakes of,
yeah,
of movies, no.
exactly. And I think it's something to be said across a lot of art forms now. TV shows, films, music, as you say. There's a lot of scope for. I think it's something that it backs up a little bit of what I said earlier in the show about we live through a golden era of music in all aspects, right? The 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, of all the guests even that have been on, so many stories have been told from those times. And
Yeah.
look, we have music in its form today, and yes, look, times have shifted and moved on. That I guess music consumption is a whole different ball game nowadays. As I said,
It's a different culture.
oh yeah. I mean, you instantly just go on YouTube and Spotify, and you've got access to all the discography.
That's so true.
In our space, it was like if you want the album, you got to save up, go and buy it in your record store, the actual physical thing in your hand, and make sure you don't ruin the CD or the vinyl or the
Oh
tape.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
and
the worst when your CD would skip.
or the tape would just mess up in the machine. It's
Yeah, the tape.
no.
That happened. Oh, that happened to me one time. I borrowed my mom's Ace of Base tape. I saw the sign. I was in like fourth grade and I was obsessed with her tape, with that song. And I borrowed it and I put it in my Walkman, and
That's
it
it.
just,
The death
she
reel.
was so mad. She was so mad.
Well, that you try to go lengths to hide it, but if
Yeah,
it
I
keeps
was trying
missing.
to like turn it with in the wheel, like turn the film. But can you imagine? Like we went through so much technology. Like our technology evolved so quickly.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but it still takes us back to, as you said, skipping CDs and twiddling around with tapes and
Scratches, spraying the CDs.
scratches, Walkmans, plugging in headphones. Did they work? Shit, why is only one headphone working? Smacking it,
That's so
and the batteries on the Walkman run out. You're playing the song.
You know what's funny? You just made me remember when my CD would skip. I memorized what part of the song and where the CD would start skipping.
You
I knew
can hear the
exactly
remix
when.
version coming up.
Yeah, I knew exactly when it would skip on a certain CD. I'm like, oh yeah, that song skips. Like, I was thinking about because I couldn't think of any bands names or anything because my mind was like, but for me, it was I used to listen to like Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach.
Oh
Just
yeah,
I guess I had a lot of I had a lot of anger to express, but that's something it's healthy to do that, right? Because I didn't go around punching anyone in the face. I channeled that energy and kind of, you know, um, transmuted it, and that's something that I learned to do later on in life too, like intentionally, without because I didn't know I was doing that. Um, Even when you dance, to music, like EDM dance music, you're like moving this energy through your body. That's or like kind of like how your ancestors danced. When people do that, it's like they did it for a reason. You're moving all this energy, and it has the ability to heal you.
100%. It's often said it's kind of a therapy technique for yourself.
Yes.
There's a lot to be said about uh, physical movement in the form of dance, particularly that helps things like your physiological states, like your heart rate, and expressing
Yeah.
emotion, and it's an art form.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I've I've seen that in motion, where dance is such an integral part of people's lives, where they're able to not just showcase their talents, but it's a form of expression, processing emotions, utilizing it in all sorts of ways, and it's when it's done well, it's
Yeah.
really
And
really
so that's
powerful.
the beauty of art and music and dance, right? So that's something I wanted to mention too is um, it just marvels me that someone can take their pain and create something so beautiful and give it meaning, and then not only do they transform it into that, but then they may be healing somebody that they don't even know is out there listening to it, who's like, I really needed this. And then it just keeps spreading. Even the happy music, of course, but for me, I mean, I love happy music, but for me, when those moments where I didn't know, where I didn't have anyone to talk to, music was there for me. Music
Mm.
heals me. It's always been there for me. So
I
it's
think
that's
I think it's unique in the ability to cover every emotion on the
yes,
human spectrum, and it's going to be it's
yes,
very individual as well. You're that's the whole point of especially the show. Your soundtrack and your songs and bands and theme tunes, soundtracks, whatever, are going to be different to mine. Are going to be different to my
right,
next guest, whoever. But
yeah,
it's how we ended up getting there that is the real craft of it. And look, we all like stories. Human beings like storytelling. There's a reason why we as kids wanted a bedtime story, or when we, a film
yeah. That's
is a
so
story
cute.
on a big screen. We're watching whether it's a true story or a made up story. We like that idea, and when we listen to how a song affected somebody, beyond just I use this to, you know, I said this last week as well. I think that there's this term now called, is it an ugly cry song? I
Yeah,
think, yeah,
that's
right.
so
Yes,
funny. Those
that's
are the
in the mix
best.
now. Yeah, no, see, that's in the mix as well. But it's it's as you said. There's that resonating quality to it when you hear it, not just of the song, but it's the story behind it. Of like, oh yeah,
Yes.
I also got something like that from this song or whatever. And there's songs that are universal in their impact. But yeah, like just quickly going back to dance for a second. I've had someone in my life that was really special, and she's a dancer, and the one thing that I got a lot from watching her perform was not just her abilities, but it was um, the space she held for herself and the audience on the stage.
I got
uh,
chills.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think it's that unique combination of the talent, the fact that they're showing it, and what it's really hard to put into words, but it's that sense of okay, this is something unique and special going on here. And
Yeah.
I struggled a lot to articulate that to her, to convey that without sounding just like a fanboy, if you will. But it's like, what I also saw in that was sometimes, you know, when you feel you get overshadowed, and I think we see this in both music and dance, that, like, you know, at particular times in our lives it feels like we should be a bit of a sheep, you know, as you said, following the cool thing. You know, you were into indie music, you know, because you found that cool, you can resonate with that. But sometimes it's like, oh, I'll just, you know, follow what everyone else likes because it's the safe thing, it's the what everyone else is doing thing. And there's that kind of competitive element that, like, you know, if you happen to like a different genre of music or into that, and then everybody else isn't, it's like, well, what's all that about? And then suddenly, like, your self-worth is at play here. And what I felt
Yeah.
with her was that, you know, sometimes, you know, did it feel like she was trying to, and I don't think she was meaning to do this, but did it feel like she was overawed by everybody else around her, you know, other performers? But I'm like, forget that. You're brilliant at what you do, and you've got your own way and path and story
Yeah.
to tell. You know, there is no competition here. And, you know, I was, you know, and I probably didn't say this enough, but I wanted her to see that, because she's great at what she does. But yeah, coming back to music as well, it's like, you know, these stories are all there, and
Yeah.
it you know, it could come from any way. Like, you know, I've been watching a show recently, a comedy thriller in the UK called The Outlaws, and the theme tune to that is like, it's on repeat. It's 40 seconds, no words, but the tune is brilliant.
That's so
It's
funny you said that. I was thinking about theme songs too. Like they get
yeah. Go
That's
on,
so
name some.
funny.
Like, I've not had many people talk
Um
about theme tunes. They're
oh my
really underrated.
gosh.
They're
Well,
so
there's so
cool.
many. There's like you got like what I don't know why this was Chippendales. I don't know. Have you ever heard of Chippendales?
Yeah,
Rescue Rangers, Chippendales.
that was a Saturday morning staple classic. Yep.
That's awesome.
That I mean,
Yeah, and stuff like that, like Full House, just all these songs. Like they get stuck in
honestly,
your head
right?
forever.
It doesn't. They're not long pieces of music, but honestly, they stick like, you know,
Yeah.
glue. And on this one, it's just like, you know, I got my guitar out there. Then it's like I managed to get half of it down, how to play it, and like, right, I want to try and get to the bottom of it, but it's just so, it's a mix of like spaghetti western, but with a bit of intrigue and
You're
just.
teaching yourself how to play it?
Yeah. There's no. I
That's
looked
so
around on the
cool.
internet, like, has anyone got like the music written out or like an example video? There's one guy who's done it, but I can't quite follow what he's doing on it. So I looked at it as like, okay, I see some idea where he's going with it, and it sounds good. So I got my guitar and tried to copy it. It's just like, okay, I'm getting there, but just
You're getting there.
it's only 40 seconds, but I keep replaying it and replaying it. It's so good. It's so
That's
good.
so funny. Just 40 seconds. Like
Honestly, and it's like, because what they do really well in that show as well is like they in the background music they play little bits of it in different speeds, in different styles, but you can tell it's the motif from the theme
you'll
itself.
have
But
to
like, it's so good.
send me the theme so I can
Yeah,
listen to
yeah.
it.
Oh, absolutely. I will put that. I'll put that in the description with your playlist. It's like, yeah, it's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's so good. So I was really interested before when you talked about the teenage angst playlist. How,
Yeah.
like, have you got other playlists like that? How long is that one? Can you like
Yeah.
share
Let
more
me
about that?
see. So this playlist I made when I was angry,
Yeah.
obviously, and but because I wanted to kind of I wanted to express it, and I was like, I used to not have healthy coping mechanisms, so this is my healthy way of
Okay.
coping, and right. So anyway, so I made that playlist, and it's like a comfort thing, and let's see, I got like System of a Down here, but it's not all just anger music. It just happens to be rock music from when I was growing up, like
Okay.
Linkin Park, um, Foo Fighters, the Goo Goo Dolls are there. You know, there's just
There's a
like
lot going
songs
on.
that. Yeah, and then so I have other playlists. Oh, this is so I made one called, you know what? Now you're making me realize. I made one called Surfacing when I was healing from something, but I knew
Okay.
that I was gonna transcend it. So I made a playlist called Surfacing, and all when I would be driving, I would add songs to it. That kind of like was from around the time. So when I listen to the playlist, I'll remember how I felt in that moment. There was one I made when I first started my spiritual journey called Glow Up Freedom. And
Wow.
yeah, I'll go back to listen to them. I'll be like, wow, look how far I've come. Like, I used to listen to that and bawl my eyes out. And now I'm just kind of like, yeah, go me.
Do you have a go-to playlist in that regard, or?
Right? Oh, I even have a full moon playlist.
Oh
It really
wow.
just depends. Like I like to listen to like chill music or 90s. I even have one called drink music. Country love songs. It really just depends on the mood.
Well, that's I guess the point that we make the playlist, right? I mean, we want to tap
Yeah,
into
yeah.
an emotion, a feeling. It's awesome.
I make fun of my boyfriend because he has a playlist called Rob's sad songs.
Hey, I think we've all got one of them. We might, whether we publicly admit it or not, it's
And
there. It's
when he
there.
plays it, it's got all these love songs and stuff, and I'm like, I can only imagine. Like, oh my gosh.
I'm sure people watching this will go, "Yep, that's mine," but I'm not going to admit to that.
Yeah. Yeah, to have different themes. When I was younger, I used to make mixed CDs with like, I made a whole mixed CD with the word beautiful, a whole mixed CD with like just random themes. I like themes, I guess. I don't know. But it was cool like looking up songs that I liked with the word beautiful in them or in the title.
Uh huh.
So
Did you ever make the artwork for the CD?
I would always write on them. It was either like an inside joke or I try to come up with like a cool title. Or I'd put some of the artists on the outside. I remember with my Sharpie putting musical notes on them.
That's
Like,
brilliant.
yeah, I miss that. Like, I used to have so many mixed CDs, and yeah, it's like Carla's Hot Summer or something. Like, I don't.
Honestly, again, people are going to be listening going, what are they talking about? Sharpies on CDs? What? It's like, honestly, you people, like, it's all good rustling up something in Canva and that's all cool, but honestly, to put pen to paper and
Yeah, it's
especially
so.
especially if it was for somebody, you want to make sure it's all
Yeah,
correct
I
and
used to make mixed
yeah.
CDs for people, like as
Uh-huh.
like you know how people did the cassette tapes too,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like as
yeah,
a love
yeah.
offering. Like this, I made this with love. This is for you.
Mm-hmm. Again, a lot of people are gonna watch and listen and go,
Do
yeah,
people
I did
send
that.
like love playlists to people to each other? I don't know what they do now.
Nowadays, oh, that's a question. I don't know. Maybe
Right?
put that to the audience. Like, do you do? Is that still a thing? Like,
Yeah, is
I,
that
I,
still a thing?
or is it like you know what? You mentioned the word album before. I even think that that's kind of on its way out, so to speak, because people, I guess, just absorb a song in the
Yeah.
immediacy. It's this song. They'll send a YouTube link or Spotify link and be done with it. But um, that said, I think when it's certain people that are coming out, like Taylor Swift has just released a new album, and that went, nuts in terms of like the
Yeah, it
interest, and
did.
along with her tour that is meant to be like 3-4 hours in length, and the ticket sort of fiasco that's gone on
Yeah.
with that. So
Yeah.
maybe it's on its way back. I don't know, but yeah, do people still share tapes? No, not tapes, and like mix playlists or whatever. I don't know.
Or do they listen to full albums? Like for me, that I liked full albums because I could connect with the artist more.
Yeah,
I feel like I had a deeper connection with them, and
yeah, because I think again going back to our days, like sometimes the album had a whole story thread to it.
that's
It
true.
wasn't just put in any order. No, it's a specific order that makes sense.
Yeah.
To
One of my
to
favorite bands, Coheed and Cambria. That's nobody ever really hears about them except for one song, "Welcome Home." But that's one of my favorite bands, and all their songs are based on a sci-fi story.
All right.
that yeah, it's and they even make comic books with it. So when I try to get people into that, I'm like, yeah, it's like a concept album. Like they're telling a story. Like but it's really cool to me. Like it's like there's characters and there's this.
Yeah.
It's like a Star Wars saga. I don't even know, but I'm obsessed with it, and it's really hard to get people into. You
Well,
have to just
that
kind of accept it or go with the fan base. The fan base is
yeah,
huge,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But I think that's another realm in itself, right? You know, what's your interpretation of the story? Is there an order, and
yes,
all this kind of thing? Because sometimes they're written with, as I said, with that journey in mind. There's a point to the track listing. There's a point to all that, but you could meet someone
yeah,
else and they
so
have a
true.
completely different thing. But I think I don't know again whether this is a common thing. I think it's still going on, but things like listening parties. Now, I don't know whether that's an
Oh,
old thing or a new thing, but I um, came across them actually about for the first time maybe like 13 years ago. So like Noel Gallagher released his first solo album, and an email went out saying a spot at his listening party. And and I
that's so
was looked at
cool.
what's one of those. I didn't know what it was, and it was like a bunch of fans get together and you listen to the album before it gets released to the public. And like, oh, okay,
Wow, that's really cool.
yeah. And it's just enter your email to win, and I managed to bag a spot, and it was a bar in London, and we went along, all quiet, and there was about 40 of us, I think, initially in this bar, like midday, so not like in public. And then the bar manager went, right, I've got the album here, see what you think. And he played it, and we will listen to it in silence for about 40 odd minutes, just
Done that before.
yeah, no, because like we'd heard a couple of the songs, and we'd heard like, oh, this is going to be on and this is going to be
That's
on.
so
We had
cool.
snippet, so we listened to it, all of it, and at the end we all like clapped and cheered, and then one of the crowd went, oh, put it on again, and then the bar went, all right, and he played it again, and then like I think like people started to leave, until there were about 8 of us I think left, and after the second running of the album finished, we just commandeered the bar. We like I think one of the guys gave his like iPod or whatever to the barman and said, there's just all Oasis and Noel Gallagher stuff, and they just put that on play like random through the speakers, and like, oh yeah, all
Yeah.
right. And we just took over the bar, all 8 of us, fellow Oasis and Gallagher fans, just talking, sharing stories. It's such a cool time that that's when I first
So
came
fun.
across a listening party, and I thought, and since then, actually, a friend of mine from that very day, you know, we when Liam Gallagher and John Squire released an album recently, it came out, but we didn't listen to it for the first 2-3 weeks until we found a time to have a listening party together. He's like, I'm in London, he's in Oxford, but like we said, right, we'll pick this time, and we played it track by track. What do you think? Like, and
Yeah,
it was
that's
like
so
our own
fun.
listening thing. It was a really really fun little thing to do. But I don't know whether that's still done. But yeah, it's just a shared experience. It's a story.
It is.
It's a really fun and cool thing.
It's
Um,
special when when you share, that you love an artist that you love with like a
mm.
best friend or a family member, and you can just bond over it and geek out and put the songs on repeat, and they don't mind. Because I like to put
Oh God,
songs on
yeah.
repeat if I really love them. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's got to be done. And um, there's a lot to be said when someone else gets it on the same wavelength. That's just something else. It's not
yeah,
like, oh, I don't mind if you play like, no, no, no. It only takes like one chord or one word or song. It's like you both know where you're going with this,
yeah.
and
That's like how it is at concerts too.
oh yeah,
You know,
oh God, yeah, yeah.
it's
Speaking
such
of
a
like,
good feeling.
what do you have like a favorite gig story in mind?
Well, like I had bought tickets for Coheed and Cambria, but I asked a friend, someone who wasn't a fan, and she couldn't go.
Uh,
So I was sitting in the car in the parking lot, and I called my mom crying, and I'm like, my friend can't go with me, like whatever, I'm not gonna
oh,
go. My mom was like, you have to go. You're gonna regret not going. So I drove to Boston because I grew up in Massachusetts.
oh, cool.
I drove 45 minutes to Boston all by myself. I went to the concert by myself. And you know what? I had the greatest time of my life because
Damn right.
I was around the fans. So we all loved the same thing. It didn't matter that I was alone. I wasn't alone. All of us were like freaking out for the same reasons and singing the song so loud. It's just that feeling. Like I'm kind of like an introvert, but when it comes to concerts, I love being around crowds. That's probably one of the only times I love crowds is music.
You're so right. I mean, you're exactly. It's not like, you know, a sports match where like half the stadium is basically against you. You're all there in a gig. You're there for the same reason. You're there. You all like the same performer,
Right.
and you know you're all into it. And there's, you know, I advocate just going to a gig on your own a lot, because for a start, the
I've done
chance
it a
of you
lot.
getting a ticket are easier, because you try finding two tickets, it's hard enough. One, better chance.
Yep.
So if you get in, great. If
You
somebody
can
else comes
squirm
along,
your way to the. I squirmed my way to the front row. Like it was
well, yeah,
easier
you're
because
a
it was
lady.
just
You can
me.
get away with that, of
Yeah,
course.
I
You know,
was like,
people like, oh, mind the lady. Yeah, obviously, damn straight. You know, honestly, these are techniques that people don't cotton on to. It's like, well, if you want to get to the front, you got to be there when the doors open. You know, hours
yeah,
before the headliner comes on, and you know, if
yep,
you're late, if you're with a lady, it's even better, because
yeah,
you know
it's true.
they'll be given preference and this kind of thing. But you're right. The whole collective experience is,
The collective experience.
it will stay with you. And
Yeah.
honestly, like, if you find, to be honest, you could find gig buddies there.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
you make friends. It's so true. Just by being beside somebody
yeah,
and
yeah,
they're
yeah,
like, "Hey, isn't this amazing?" And you're like, "Yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing."
I always feel that in America, like maybe a little bit more so than here, in America, that'd be so easy to do, because you're
Yeah.
I think you're all more chattier and friendlier in any way. But like, there's still this kind of British thing of like, you want to be kind of polite. Yeah, honestly, yeah. But to be honest, I have seen at gigs where it's just a lot more um, relaxed than that, you know. And there is
Yeah.
time, you know, because as I said, you're in a collective experience, you know. When,
Yeah.
you know, if you're all singing back at the artist or whatever, you're all there, and you know. And then an arm comes out, and you're all together, and or whatever, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's so funny.
It's so good, yeah. I mean, you know, you do kind of have to watch it, like, you know, if you're on the shorter side, you don't want to be behind some lanky tall thing. It's like, oh, get
Oh
out
my
the bloody
gosh,
way.
yes. Like they did. I had never experienced a mosh pit before. And there
Oh
was a
god.
mosh pit at a concert I went to, and they were bumping into me and stuff. And I was like, at first I was getting pushed around, right? But then I was like, no, put my elbows out. And I was like, I'm 5'2", so I'm short. And I'm like, no, you will not push me around.
Like it, you stood your ground. I like
I
it.
did. You have to. And those, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, I've never been here.
Oh yeah, yeah. Again, if you're not sort of keeping your eyes open as the first time, it can
Yeah, you can
get.
get an elbow to your face. Like,
Oh
it's
god, yeah.
crazy in
Or
there.
you're standing somewhere, and all of a sudden you're like been moved over to somewhere else. Like, what the? I wasn't
That's
here.
so
What's
funny.
going on? Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
can happen, right? So I wanna revisit something quickly, that you
Yeah.
mentioned about, you mentioned shadow work while driving.
Yeah.
How?
So it's kind of like, I know, right? It happens spontaneously sometimes for me
Right.
because I'll be listening to music. And when I'm driving, I'm in like a meditative state because I'm relaxed. I love driving, so I'm like doo doo doo, and I'll be listening to the music, and a song will hit me, and I'll start crying, and I'm like, why am I crying? There was a video I made about that one time. I was driving and I started crying, and I was listening to a song called Walking on Broken Glass. And it reminded me of when I was a kid that, sometimes I would feel like I was walking on eggshells or I wasn't good enough or whatever we think about.
Mm.
But I knew that because I was crying, because crying is an emotional release. I'm like, what's going on behind that? Let's unpack it. And that's, kind of the realization I got. So yeah, I do shadow work while I'm driving. It'll be different. If a song hits me and I start crying, I'm like, why are you crying? What's up? And I just go a little bit deeper, just introspection while I don't, but it helps because it's a safe space. But also, like, I've had times, I mean, people don't really always talk about this. I don't care. I do. Where I've been like angry or sad or so upset or just in despair where I'm like, and I scream in the car, and just music helps me do that. Like, it's a safe and close space. People watching me are probably like, "What's wrong with her?" I mean, it depends on the day. You might see me dancing, or you might see me being like, like it just depends.
It sounds really powerful though, because
It is
it,
powerful.
because I was gonna say it doesn't sound like you're right actively look for it, like right, I'm gonna look
No, I
to
just
release X emotion. It just happens with whatever comes on. And again, it
yeah.
doesn't sound like you go right. I'm purposely gonna put on this kind of music or this kind of song to release X
Yeah, so
emotion.
that's another thing. So then I feel like it has a purpose because it was something I needed to release at that time, and it
Mm,
usually
mm.
does. It's in alignment with whatever, and it's nice because it helps me let go of old stories. That's part of like my healing modality with myself, you know. And I don't have a name for it, but that's kind of like what I do. Like,
That again is something I think is really significant, and powerful because it's unique to you. Like some people might be listening to this, and go, oh, I actually do that. Again,
yeah,
you might not consciously thought about it, but many a time, and again, it might not be to the same extent where you controlled screaming or crying or whatever,
right,
but a sense of like you might be driving or even walking or commuting or whatever.
yeah, walking that same,
Music comes on, and then you're in a train of thought about
yeah,
whatever. And
hmm
it's I like your use of the term shadow work because it's something that I it's a core component of the work I do and share. And the more examples and context we can deliver in that for people, I think is better
yeah,
because I see it as a
true.
space of like that's where your answers about yourself are. And I love the way that you said that. Okay, I had a spontaneous emotional outburst. What was that about?
Yeah.
There's one question to be had about what was it about the song. Was it the lyrical content? Was it the music? Was it a combination
There's
of
usually
both
a
or whatever?
story there, a
Yeah,
combination, yeah.
yeah,
But it's usually a
but
story.
true, but again, what does that mean for you?
Right, for
Because
me personally.
yeah, exactly, and that's the question. I think that's what I call your that's where you're at the gates of your own hell, if you will. You're the
Yeah,
only one that can step through because of what it means to you. Now, some people
right.
might balk at that, going, "Oh, I don't know about that. A bit scary." It is scary, and that's fine. You don't have to force
Yeah.
yourself through, but it's just a clue to go, okay, what might that be about? And I think a lot may be said for where quick. I guess there's that perception of you shouldn't feel that emotion. Like if people were to say
Right.
you cry at a song, oh, what are you crying at a song for? You know what I mean? You kind of like it's a little bit frowned upon, even though to be honest, we probably all do it. There's probably
Yeah,
been an
definitely.
instance where it's connected that intensively to a raw emotion, and I think a lot's to be said about music that aims to. I heard Noel Gallagher say a great phrase once, going, I rarely write about my own personal people or situations, but I try and write in a way that he called it the universal truth. So it's not
Yeah.
about being upbeat all the time, but he goes, I write material where like things can be shit and we can recognize they're shit, but there's always hope. There's always something we can do
There's
about
always
it.
hope. Yeah.
And it's said in a lot of his material, from Oasis days to to his solo stuff now. Um, and when there's artists that can uniquely convey that, you're like, I think that's what I tap into. And it doesn't even have to be about the content of the song itself. Like his storytelling, whatever. His story doesn't have to resonate with you, but the what you get from it is something different. Like
Yeah, because we all have different meanings that we get from
exactly.
the songs too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
interpretations.
yeah, and I think it takes a unique artist to convey a lot of those emotions. Like we said before, like when you can get a lot of your emotional spectrum met through music, um, I think I think even today it's still an untapped resource in that regard. And ironically, we've talked about playlists and albums and stories, and utilize that in things like shadow work and that. But I still feel that's all on a conscious level that we're doing. Okay, I'm making a playlist because it might impress so and so. I use it to go to the gym with, and I use it to, it's, ugly cry or whatever.
Right,
But actually
right.
we're like, okay, there's reasons we're doing this, and I personally think when we dig into it more, you'll be surprised pleasantly at what answers also come out
Yes.
about you. And whether you want to accept them, that's your own thing, but there's a chance to do something with them.
It's so true. And that's
uh,
special. That's really special
yeah,
to gain
yeah.
that insight. Wow. I love music.
We can tell. I mean, I definitely think we should have you back on to do an impromptu gig. That should happen.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
should happen. I think
One of my
I
dreams is no, go
go on.
ahead.
No, you go on. No, when you say the word
Oh,
dream, go on. That's a good
oh
thing.
well, one of my dreams like is to like become a DJ because I love music that much,
All right.
um or I want to create it. Like there's something in me that's like I want to make music, and
So DJing is what
even
you'd
if
want
it's
to like
beats.
have a go at. Okay, DJing is what you want to have a go at.
I think so. And my daughter, because I love music so much, she's 8 years old, and she'll say, we'll be in the car, and she'll be like, send me that song, send me that song. She loves music so much. I
Hang on,
know.
your 8-year-old daughter is saying, "Send me that song." Send it where?
Yeah. Send it to her phone.
Oh yeah,
Because she has Apple Music.
this is the old time being going, well, how is a child having a phone and like capabilities? It's
Yeah.
like,
So I'm
it
like,
just
hey,
sounds weird. It's like,
Siri.
it's your mum, she'll give you the song on her play, whatever. Send me that song. It's like, what?
Yeah,
Oh,
while I'm
brilliant.
driving, I'll be like, hey, Siri, send this song to Alicia Lilly. And it'll be like, send this web link to Alicia Lilly. And she presses the send button. And it sends her a
Amazing.
text message with a link to the Apple Music to the song.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
look,
crazy.
I don't think that's, and you say a
But
lot
it's
in the stuff you convey that you can do. It's possible what you want to do.
yeah,
Like DJing is definitely a thing, but maybe the start of it is this impromptu gig, which we should set
that's
up.
so true.
I appeal to the audience, viewer, listener. If you want to see this gig going, let us know in the comments below.
Oh my
We'll
goodness.
we'll set that up.
Okay, so yeah, with TikTok, that's been a huge part of my creative journey. Um, because at first I started it just for fun. This was before I even became a life coach,
All
and I
right.
would do like yeah, I would do like dancing videos, like with the trending songs and lip syncing, whatever. But then when I chose to become a life coach, I was able to make videos that resonated with people with music because you can use music.
Okay.
So,
Right.
how music just evokes that emotion. Like even if I'm making a video where I'm recording, nature, and then I add like an inspiring message there, a positive
Mm,
message with
mm.
some music, like it resonated with people. Or sometimes I'll play music and just show my own emotions. Like I don't do it as much anymore, but I would even cry a little bit. It's kind of like it was my own art form,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it helped other people, and I love that. So sometimes when I get those downloads that I told you with the songs, I'll be like, oh, that's the song today with today's message, and I'll even put the song in in my whatever video I'm using. It's just a fun way
Do you
to
have
use
an
music.
example where that worked really well? Like, there's a lot of people that
Yeah, well,
resonated. Like,
let's see. Well, I made one with like Billie Eilish, and like it was
oh,
like
okay.
a sad. Yeah, it was one of her sad songs, and and it just had like a whole bunch of emotion, and I had like kind of tears in my eyes in the message, and people were like, "Wow, I don't feel so alone," and oh yeah, Billie Eilish definitely like evokes those emotions, and it was cool. It's a cool way to connect with people. And one time I even made a video of me just wasn't even me. It was me recording me walking, and I was talking, and I was like, yeah. So I was meditating, and I'll get these songs, and then I wrote like in text like how I interpret songs from spirit. I'll look at the
Hmm.
lyrics and it'll apply to whatever. But I was walking around going, everybody wants to rule the world. Like that song was just came in, and that song went viral. I mean, that video went viral. I think because people were like, "Hey, I do that too. Is that what that means?" and stuff like that. Like when you get a song suddenly stuck in your head or it's playing. For me, it is because my spirit team knows that I am aware of it, that I communicate that way. So they'll send me little. It's like a little
Look,
message.
If we tune in, the messages, the signs, the signals, they're all around us,
They're all around
and
us.
we don't have to have extrasensory powers or be special in that
So
regard.
true.
And it's an individual thing. You spoke as a clairaudient. People have heard of clairvoyancy and all this kind of thing. You don't have to have
Right.
those levels, but it's something to be said that this is where I think things like our subconscious patterns, behaviors, things come from. Autopilot or what we resonate with or whatever. It's clues to go. Okay, I again hark back to your example. When you heard a song and it spontaneously evoked emotion, there's a sign for you to ask, where did that come from? Now, however much you want to dig into it is up to you. But there's this clue in there if you want to go looking for it. And you were able to share that with a lot of people on TikTok and create that unified feeling, or amongst others, or even just to share. They're all there. It's whether we want to tune into them and dig further, basically. Yeah. Well, Karla, we're just about on the hour mark here. I know we could go on for ages, like I do with all my guests, but it's been so much fun. Thank you so much for being on the show. I definitely think you'll be a repeat guest on. There's so much more we could dig into.
I had so much fun. I was so nervous, and I'm like, it's just
it definitely didn't come across. I mean,
yeah.
You spoke about energy.
As soon as I started talking to you, I was just like, I felt at ease. But the anticipation, it's like, well, excitement and being nervous kind of feel the same, anyways.
Well, to be honest, that's we could do a whole show on that statement itself. But
I know.
Honestly,
okay, well, I would love to come back, and thank you so much. Yeah.
No, a pleasure. I mean, before you go, do you just want to let people know where they can reach out to you to find out more about what you do and that kind of thing?
Yeah, of course. So my kind of like name everywhere. I don't know what they call it nowadays. My
handle, is it? Handle, username?
My handle or my username, yeah, that's the word. Is Rainbow Spirited Soul. So if you search on Instagram or TikTok, I'm under Rainbow Spirited Soul. On Facebook, just with my regular name. And yeah, my mission is to connect spirits to their divine source. My business is called Pain to Poetry LLC, and what that signifies is
not again. Oh no, you're back.
No, you're
not
here.
Again. Yeah, thank God. Okay, keep going. I'll edit it. I'll edit it. You just want to start with your tag names again. What's it called? Handles.
Okay. I'll do that. Okay, so my so my handles are. You're gonna have to do editing here.
Well,
so my handle.
I'll leave that in.
I'm trying to do it before we lose connection. Like,
oh, brilliant.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, TikTok with my handle Rainbow Spirited Soul, and I'm also on Facebook. My business name is called Pain to Poetry LLC, and that signifies divine alchemy, transmutation, transforming your pain into something beautiful, and that's what I'm all about. So
awesome. I mean, the links will be below for people to find and share as you've heard from Karla, and also her soundtrack. They open up a whole world of memories and music for people. And look, if you want to be a guest on the show, there's a link somewhere in the description where I've put it to sign up and come along and be a great guest as Karla on this show. But Karla, thank you so much again for being on.
Thank you so much.
We'll catch you all on the next one.
All right, catch you.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Soundtrack of Your Life. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and share this episode around. Subscribe to the channel for further shows coming up. Comment with your thoughts below and use the sign up link to get yourself on the shows on. I'd love to have you on. feel supersonic.